The Satoshi alien will help you understand technology and cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and believe you like it. The Satoshi alien will help you understand investments and make money, so come listen to the aliens guidance. Listen to the
Today we're talking about Fastly, Unity, PagerDuty, Compound, AMP, Filecoin, AR, VR, the Apple headset, and I convince my fellow alien to try to get deeper into cryptocurrency. Hope you enjoy it.
That's awesome. That's really good.
Yeah. So, what are you looking at this week?
Yeah, so I kind of like finally figured out the perfect balance for my portfolio. So I went involved with adding more Fastly. I raised that to a 7% position.
Nice.
And I know you're not a big Fastly guy that much, but
Yeah, I only bought it because of you, really. I mean, I
yeah,
like the way I traded it overall, but this last leg down, I'm like not very high conviction on it. So, like seeing it bleed like this, I'm like,
yeah. No, you gotta kind of give the story time, right? So Fastly was that stock last year that ripped because it came out of nowhere with good revs and good numbers. And TikTok, right? TikTok was the main reason why Fastly went parabolic in the public side,
yes.
because they had so much revenue that came from TikTok. And when the whole Trump China thing happened, politics got in the way. And I hate when politics, liberal, Republican, doesn't matter. I hate when politics get in the way of life, right? In business. It
Yep.
should never happen.
I
Uh,
agree.
and that took down TikTok's usage. They're not, they're still a customer, but not a big customer. Um, and that really kind of helped Fastly get way ahead of itself, right? Because Fastly is not a $130 stock. It shouldn't be. It's not there yet. But the opportunity is there for the long run. Q3 and Q4, you're going to start seeing compute at edge numbers kind of start to take form, take shape, right? 2022 edge computing is supposed to start making material impact. Signal Sciences, which is their most recent acquisition, they bought them a few months ago for like cybersecurity, and they have a partnership now with Okta to kind of bring that identity security and that cloud security together for people, which I think is very important for the process that we're in as a world now. So all these little pieces are being built up, but none of them come together for today. They don't. And because if you look on paper, I think Fastly is expected to grow like 25% or something like that, according to analyst numbers. Yeah. So, I mean, when you're looking at 19% estimates for growth 2 years from now, I think that's a mistake, because you're not factoring edge computing and you're not factoring signal sciences. And those are the opportunities that's going to happen, right? It's a content delivery network for now, but it's only growing more. And I think it's cheap. It's not cheap per se. Let me rephrase it. But I think at these levels, it's attractive. I think it's a better way of saying it, right? So I added to that position. I've started a position in PagerDuty, which is not a sexy company by any means.
Pager. What is that?
So it's a ticker PD. It's a DevOps stock. So basically, like they automate the developer operations, where like if there's an issue that might happen to your like network or whatever program you're working with, whatever your software is that you're offering, it will kind of identify any issues that are going to happen and basically troubleshoot them autonomously, essentially. So it's a really good product for companies. It has a return on investment for customers of like 800%, which is nuts, right? I don't remember the exact number, but I think it's like either 40% of Fortune 100 companies or 60% of Fortune 100 companies are customers. And then the other number is for Fortune 500. It's got a 125% dollar-based net expansion rate for enterprise customers. The CEO essentially let it slip out during the conference call that she's expecting growth north of 30% in the near future.
Oh, wow.
It's a $3.5 billion company. It's trading 10 times next year's sales. So I think it's very attractive. And they have operating leverage, right? Like they're starting to show some close to profitability here. Like I think you're at an opportunity and an inflection point where their business might start snowballing the right way. They hired a new sales team a little while back, and that's starting to show like it's working. And they're actually finding new use cases for their product that they weren't even aware of, right? There was one company, one of their customers, and the customer basically realized that they can use that software to understand when their meat counter is mispricing the weight of meat, right?
Oh
So
wow.
like the butcher, because like, apparently this is a thing where like the scale might misfire and
Mm.
undercharge what a steak should cost or whatever, and it's
Is it
saving people
overcharged
money.
too?
Yeah, it definitely would overcharge, of course. That's what you know. You know when the butcher's overcharging, he puts the hand on it a little heavy.
Yeah.
That's something that we used to see in the old days. With the if you ever go to like an Italian fruit store, the guy would have his hand underneath it. Yeah, but I think a
Remember
lot of
those things, right?
customers, right?
Yeah,
A
those
lot of customers really,
scales you used to have to wear shit. Weigh the fruit and stuff.
yeah. It's a weird world that we once had to deal with, right?
I know, right? Forget about that stuff.
I know. But I think customers here really like the product. It's something that has a lot of happiness from it in terms of when you use it, you keep it. You don't
Mm.
look to switch elsewhere. And that 800% return on investment is audited. So it's not like just some
Oh wow.
BS. Like that's actually been audited by like a third party. Um, the CEO seems like she's really doing a good job. The estimates moving forward are pretty light, right? Like if they're thinking they can hit 30% growth, your estimates for 1 and 2 years are around 23 to 24%. So you have opportunity here to have a beat on the earnings reports, right? It's not a sexy company though. But there's some new use cases that actually could kind of put it towards Twilio's market, which I think would be really interesting if they
Interesting.
can steal some market share. Right. So I had some money thrown at that, and that became a 3.5% position. It's not a big one because I think that at the end of the day, I'm not going to jump into a company that heavily in the beginning. I usually try to go like 1 to 2%. I went 3.5 here because I think it's cheap in terms of valuation and opportunity.
How much is a share right now?
It's $42 at the close today. So
Okay.
yeah, $42 trading 10.5 times next year's sales. You can do a lot worse in software. So
It's
I
true.
like the opportunity. And my thing is, it's a $3.5 billion company. It can very well triple, right? And it won't be out of this realm in like a couple of years and still be pretty fair, right? Like it can be a $12 billion company and you would be like, oh, okay, that's pretty normal. So I
Mm.
think there's still some opportunity here to make money off it. And that's why the main reason why I'm taking this chance with it this week, right?
Yeah. How long you plan on holding it?
Yeah.
Years?
So I've been doing a lot of shifting and balancing and changing
Mm.
to weigh my portfolio for the next 5 years, where I really don't want to touch anything unless there's a deterioration involved or
Mm.
a parabolic move involved, right? So I'm looking to hold this for like 1 to 5 years, essentially. I ideally want to hold it for more than a year, but obviously, if they miss on their plans, like if they're telling me 30% growth and then she under delivers to give me 15%, I'm getting out because that's a big miss. But I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna let it work. Um, I did some trimming. Like I trimmed down Twilio and I trimmed down Square from 5% positions to 2.5, 3%, because
Mm.
I wanted kind of to just have more peace of mind in terms of those companies that are more mature, right? Like I love Square, but it's $100 billion company. Uh, their point of sale business essentially and their non cash app business only grew 20%. Obviously, COVID was the reason for it. And I do love Cash App. That's why I didn't leave. But I don't want to be sitting here with a 5 or 10% position in $100 billion company because how much further can it grow realistically? And Twilio trades at a very high multiple for a stock that just pulled $100 off its highs. Like I think it's trading like 18 times next year's sales, and that's not cheap. It's not terrible, but when it's $100 off its highs, like that's kind of a problem. So I wanted to kind of work on valuations a little bit. Um, and the main reason why I'm kind of being cautious on valuations is that I'm taking a big shot on a company that has a god awful valuation right now,
Which
which
is that?
is Unity, right?
Mm.
So Unity's trading at like 36 uh, sales for the past 12 months. is trading at basically 22 times next year's sales. It's not cheap. It's only growing around 30 or 25% in the future.
I'm also a bag holder.
Yeah, but here's the thing, dude. Unity, I think, is a story that we're gonna sit back at and say the numbers didn't do it justice.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
and obviously, Unity, I think, powers 70% of mobile games, so that's huge,
Yeah.
right? Um, they have 2.7 billion monthly active users across all of the games that are created on their platform, and we'll get into why
0.7
that's
billion.
2.7 billion. Yeah.
So that's almost half the people.
Yeah. And this is why I think that's a big deal, right? So of
Yeah, it's
course,
half the people, bro. That's a big deal.
right. That's half the people, right? And this is the crazy part, dude. Unity has an advertising engine essentially, right? Like they
Mhm.
provide in-game advertising for the studio that creates the game. And they do a revenue sharing split. So like you're the developer. Um, I'm gonna make it so you can have ads on your game, and I'm gonna do all the work for that. You get, let's say, I don't know what the exact split is, but let's say you get 30% and I get 70% or vice versa, right? They're
Mhm.
making money off those in-game ads, and there I've seen a couple of different numbers. Their range on advertising revenue is like 30 to 50%,
Oh,
right? Of the revenue is advertising. And I'm looking at Pinterest and I'm looking at Roku and I'm looking at Trade Desk. Obviously Facebook, right? All these companies are monster machines when it comes to advertising money. And Unity, I think, is a sleeping giant in that business because when you play a game, right, on your phone, I don't know if do you play any games on your phone?
not really, no.
Not really. I honestly don't either. But I downloaded the new Crash Bandicoot game.
Mhm.
I saw people talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, all right, I love Crash Bandicoot. I'll play it. Number one, I see an ad every 5 minutes. Okay. Every
Interesting.
time every time I die, they make me play an ad.
It's free?
It's free, yeah.
Okay.
So they make me play an ad every time I die to like resume my place and wherever I was in the game. And every ad I see is for another stupid mobile game. And they're really crappy ads, right?
Yeah.
And the way I'm thinking is, I don't think advertising, advertisers have realized that mobile gaming is the opportunity it is. I don't think they realize that there's 2.7 billion monthly active users that they could be targeting to sell, you know, Gucci sunglasses to or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a huge opportunity where at some point people are going to go from selling that ad space to Candy Crush to now selling it to, I'm looking around here, Apple, right? To advertise a new MacBook or Apple's AR glasses when they come out,
Mhm.
right? I think there's so much ability here to see that advertising experience improve and increase. And the other main thing I really like about it potentially is ad fraud is a big thing, right? Like Facebook, I think came out and they said like they had like 1.1 billion or something like that of their users were fake.
What? And they admitted it.
Yeah, and we see it all the time on Twitter, right? Like how many people on Twitter are just robots that are not even real? And that's all fraudulent activity that tricks advertisers to buying, that space. And they're basically selling clicks to robots, right?
Mhm.
Ad fraud, and I'm not an expert, so eventually I have to dig deeper into it. But to me, I don't think the mobile market is as big of an issue as it is in social media, mobile gaming. And I think advertisers, it's a total addressable market ad fraud of $50 billion in ad fraud money lost by 2025. I think this is something that the money's going to flow into CTV, right? So I'm long Roku because of that thematic. And I think the money's going to flow into mobile gaming as well because there's almost 3 billion people who are playing stupid games on their phone every month.
Yeah. And
And
they'll turn it before.
yeah. And I really think you're going to see that transition. And that's a big game. That's a big growth engine for a gaming platform that isn't even really being talked about. So I think that's a steal,
That
right?
also enables whole new ways to advertise that like weren't possibly there before because now instead of just looking at a picture or a video, you can like literally interact with like the ad in a way you were never able to do before. So what if What if like Grand Theft Auto had like programming in the game, right? Like you could watch TV in Grand Theft Auto or stuff like that. But what if they had commercials, right? What if Rockstar just outsourced that part and they said, look, somebody else pay for it and you can have ad space on the TV and that's how we'll do it.
Dude,
That saves them money, that saves them time, and people can put their advertisements in the game.
it's gonna happen, right? It's actually already happening with Roblox. You can buy like Gucci sneakers for your avatar.
Oh wow.
Like it's so
Licensed by Gucci or licensed just
yeah.
by some dude? Because I had a kid who was
Oh,
making cars in Roblox. He was telling me, and he was
pretty
building
cool.
them, dude. He did a great job. Like, don't get me wrong, he
That's
was
really cool.
phenomenal. Yeah, but I didn't get the details if he was like selling them or how that worked or anything like that. I just was like way more impressed with like how he's putting it together.
Yeah. No, this is like a legitimate licensed thing, right? And that's only gonna keep happening. So gaming is this monster opportunity, not just to get ahead of like, oh, I want to make money on the software side. It's the advertising, just like you said, that's going to happen, right?
Yeah, and games are going to change,
Yes.
and Unity is right there where VR, AR, they're like at the cutting edge.
Right. They're the
So,
leader in VR software, right? Like,
exactly.
and that's the other thing that we haven't talked about why I'm bullish on Unity is the VR AR world that's coming at us, right? The gaming side, it's going to be there. I was reading about Unity last night, and I came across um, an article about Apple's AR glasses and their VR headset. I tweeted it. If you want to scroll through our stream, you'll see it. And I didn't realize this really until now. Yeah, Apple's going to release their own headset, and that's cool and all. But what Apple does is they get developers in the room to create content better
Yes.
than anybody else.
Well, they
So
already have an amazing augmented reality kit that's out there that you could work on, and they have like I saw this example. I think I retweeted it a long time ago. It was like these metallic balls that were imposed on this table that they weren't really there, but you could see the reflection of everything in that room that was actually there on those
that's
walls. Yeah,
insane.
and I think it was through an iPad or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Dude.
the technology's there. They're working very hard on it. And they're doing a great job.
So when Apple is going to bring this product to market, it's going to explode the adoption, right? Oculus has a lead right now, and maybe Oculus will have the best headset. I'm not sure. You're a user. I know you
I
enjoy it.
like it. Yeah,
We'll see
I
what
haven't used it a
Apple
lot
offers.
ever since I first got it. I had like the honeymoon, and then I just really haven't picked it up.
Well, I think it's very cumbersome, right?
Yeah, I got to move shit around my apartment, like to really like get a good play space going. And I just moved everything, and like it's not conducive to VR anymore.
Right. And the other thing is your content available probably isn't abundant, right? It's probably somewhat limited.
Yeah. I mean, there's a nice multitude of different experiences in games and stuff like that. But I was boxing compulsively, really bad, and I hurt my shoulder, and then I had to take a break. I haven't been back since. Yeah, that's what happened. I just kept punching the air so many. It must have been like I wish there was stats that I could like find out how many punches I threw. There's probably like a stupid amount. Like I definitely got way too into it, way too quick. I jumped the gun, and then I was like, "What am I doing? I'm gonna injure myself." VR boxing.
And that's the thing, right? Like once you get immersed in the experience, you love it. You don't really, shift away from it, right?
Mm.
And when Apple enters, that experience you had with boxing is only going to multiply and grow.
Oh yeah,
And
you can
that's
box
going
your
to,
friends. They don't even know you're punching them in the face.
right. And that's gonna, it's so
You
true.
hate
Though.
some dude, right? Like you just put on your headset, you load his skin onto the opposing character, and you just start punching him in the face. I can see that.
It's so true, right? And
I
it's
guess you can do
only
that
going
now,
to,
right? You could kind of like take somebody's face and put it on like a game character and just like torture them in Grand Theft Auto or whatever. You could probably do that.
yeah.
Somebody's doing that.
It's gonna happen. It's there. Like we might not be aware of it, but it's there, right? And it's
Yeah,
gonna
somebody
flow
does.
back. It's gonna flow back to Unity, and I think Unity is that opportunity that we have ahead of us that we're gonna look back at and say, "Holy crap! How did I miss that?" Like Amazon, it could be the Amazon of this decade. I'm not saying it is because that would be insane, but you never know, right?
Yeah, I mean, is it going to be like that? I mean, yeah, you're right. Actually, who knows? Because who knows the potential of where this technology is going to go is pretty limitless.
Right. And AR and VR outside of gaming has real developing use cases, right? I think
Oh
Volvo
yeah.
uses it. Volvo uses it to
The
develop
military just
cars.
bought 120,000 headsets for trading. Yeah, Hololens too.
Yeah, yeah. The Microsoft got that. I think it's like $120 billion contract or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, it was something crazy, but
Some monster contract, um, or 20 billion, whatever
they
it
were
was.
already using virtual reality for training.
Yeah,
I've talked to some people who did like had experiences with it. They liked it a lot. They said it was really helpful.
and then there's the education side of it, which I actually think is the worst use case because as a teacher, I know that the adoption when it comes to getting tech in the classroom is not there. Um,
I mean, I think I have like a decent amount of tech in my classroom, but I'm also a tech teacher, right? So
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going off of what I saw where like it took kids like 6 months to a year to get a laptop during the lockdown, from the DOE,
yeah,
right? Like the city didn't do the quickest job of getting you that headset or in this case, that laptop. I don't have the belief that they'll have the headsets in classrooms in the near future. I think that's like a 10, maybe 15
you
year
know what it
thing.
is too. There's all a different way of how they do funding and then how
Yeah.
they buy things and like certain contractors. So I mean, it's not like they can just go to the store and buy a bunch of Oculus
Right.
headsets for a classroom. It doesn't work like
Right.
that.
So that's a use case people talk about. I don't think it's there yet, but it'll happen. Um, there's also like healthcare use cases where like I've seen that they're using it to treat people with PTSD, for elderly people with dementia, and just like this is such a crazy time that we're in that I think you can't visualize it and you can't ignore it. You have to just kind of say something's happening, follow the tech, and the tech will tell you what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or follow the really smart people who are working on it
Exactly.
and see
Because
what's working on.
when Mark Zuckerberg dedicates 20,000 employees to Oculus Rift, that should tell you something.
Yeah, almost as much as Libra tells you something, or DM, or whatever it's called now, Nova,
Right.
Novi. Had so many name changes. They just don't want people to realize that it's Libra. They don't
Right.
want people to
Exactly.
realize it's the Facebook coin.
Right. It's all marketing at the end of the day. So I really like the
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah, having those resources pointed towards AR VR, that does say something.
Yeah. And I haven't bought Roblox because it's an IPO and I want to be patient with IPOs. And I think the COVID numbers are just insane that I want to see how it develops post COVID, right? Like if they have monster growth next year or like over the next couple of reports, that means it's a blowout winner, right? If they start seeing people pull back, then we know that like when kids went back to school, Roblox lost their priority.
I
So I
don't
want
think
to see how that
so.
goes, but
I think Roblox will blow up because that's kids are obsessed with Roblox, man. Even before the pandemic, they've been obsessed with it.
yeah. Have you ever downloaded it or looked at it?
I think I've tried because I wanted to bring it in because they were like so into it, and then I tried it for like maybe less than an hour, and I was like, all right, I
Yeah.
don't think this is possible for me to like make this educational.
Yeah. So I downloaded it the other night because I was like, you know what? Let me see what it looks like. Dude, the opening, like the first thing you see is like an app store essentially. And it's like a dopamine like drip. Like it just like all your senses are on edge. I can see why kids are addicted to it because it's created to make you an addict.
Hmm.
Like I mean, and that's awful, but like that's a great company to buy,
I
right?
think of
No,
how
it's
many
never
kids
gonna
are
lose
going to be
patience.
born in 2021, 2022 after all these lockdowns.
Right. That's another thing. Yeah, good point. Population has to get younger, right?
Yeah, exactly. People had a
And
lot of time. I hope the birth rate went up.
we need it because
Probably
Japan has
not
that
though.
big
Just
issue.
the divorce rate, right?
Well, also another point is that we have a fertility issue in this country, and it's hard to have a kid for a lot of people.
It's true. Yeah, I know a few people.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's what I've been looking at, and I've cleared out. I got rid of all my SPACs for the most part. I sold Curiosity Stream. I sold my two proteomics companies.
Yeah, I sold Curie too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I made money off it marginally. I made like 50 cents a share off it, but here's the thing, right? I think it's cheap. It's trading at like 4 times sales, and it's projected to grow 70% next this year. But I don't know. I rather just have that money for Fastly or PagerDuty. Like a company I like better.
I
So
agree with that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like sold on a subscription stream service. Like, I wouldn't get curiosity for myself. So it's like, why am I going to invest a bunch? I never had too much money in it. I just swung it a little bit.
Yeah,
And then after like during the downturn, maybe it had like went up a little bit, and I sold for a loss or something like that. Like I sold on a bounce, but it was only like it was a very small position at that point.
yeah. I think for me, I was in the same way. I had like at one point I had like a 1.5% position, but I mostly had like a 0.6 or 0.8% position. I do subscribe to it, but I subscribe to it because it cost me $20 a year, and I was like, screw it, $20, let me try it.
Yeah.
There's good content, but I don't want. I watch it at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning when I'm up with the baby and my wife is
Mhm.
sleeping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't watch it every day. It's when the bull case for it is that I'll never notice it on my credit card statement, so I'll never cancel it. That's not really the best bull case. So
Yes, I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, people really like it though. I've seen a lot of it. A
yeah,
lot of people write about it on Twitter and whatnot. But yeah, I never really felt compelled to get it or look into it too heavy, other than getting it because you got it.
yeah. Well, because it was a good trade too. Like
Yeah, no, it's a great
we
trade.
made some money off it, you know. But it's just it's not the time, and it's cheap. If you want a cheap, trade, it's a value stock essentially with really good growth. And but I don't know. I rather buy what I want. So I've been concentrating into my biggest ideas, and I'm just gonna keep dollar cost averaging into those ideas and spread them.
What
To me, that's the
about
better move,
Bitcoin?
dude.
Still dollar cost averaging? Because I know you
I
sold some to get some air conditioner.
yeah. Well, I had to pay for this somehow, right? So I did make the money real, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
still have a position, but I sold more than my wife wanted me to. She was a little upset about that. Um, but I have a position. I'm never going to sell my position unless it goes to like $1 million tomorrow. Then I'm going to obviously I'll sell it,
Yeah,
right? But,
of course.
uh, I do dollar cost average a small amount every week. I actually didn't buy this week yet because I kind of forgot about it. I don't have the automatic on, but I probably will buy at some point today. I do think that Coinbase IPO though could be a top. I know you disagree with me,
I
but
don't
I don't
disagree.
know,
Yeah,
man.
it's just I don't see the top happening anytime soon. Like, well, all right, I should rephrase that because I do think a top will come probably if there's going to be a top, it'll be like within 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, something like that. Like I could see this going till the fall, but I think by 2022, maybe we go January or February, but it has to at some point probably correct substantially. Not Bitcoin necessarily, but like the entire crypto market. This might be different in the sense that Bitcoin might not retrace as much as it's always retraced. I do think that. I think we could see like a 50% retrace maybe, and then that's it. And
Yeah,
everybody's expecting like the 85, and it just never happens because there's just too many players here. And like, selling Bitcoin right? Like, I don't want to listen. I love Michael Saylor. I don't want him to have my Bitcoin. Like, absolutely not. That guy is just
no,
buying Bitcoin, millions of dollars worth every Monday, and like, no, I'm not selling to that dude.
no,
Absolutely
no.
not. I have the same amount of Bitcoin. Actually, I have more Bitcoin than I started the bull run with, and I scaled out. So I'm happy. Yeah. So I'm happy. I just don't. I would be afraid to sell my like a substantial amount of Bitcoin. Like how
Yeah,
you did, I would be very afraid because I really do think that it's. I don't think the dollar's going to crash, but I do think that it's important to have, or at least have, uh, an amount that could be substantial to you, or do part of your savings in Bitcoin.
yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Right? Like, I think the problem I had was that number one, we had a tech bubble that burst, and I was like, well, crap, Roku's on sale. Like, I want some more money for Roku, right? Like, that's my biggest conviction idea. Second,
So
along with
you're
Bitcoin.
more convicted on Roku than you would be with Bitcoin.
And I think the only reason why I felt that way was because you and I both know how Bitcoin works in terms of that 85% drawdown could be anywhere around the corner. So when I'm up,
I don't know,
like,
man. I don't think it's anywhere around the corner right now. Like we seen it go because I was looking at the all time chart the other day,
yeah,
and
it
I was
was
looking
swapped
at
to flows.
2000. Well, yeah, well that's even
Yeah,
different. But just looking at how it acted in 2017 into 2018, and I feel like if we went from 50,000 to 100,000 within the month or something like that.
To blow off
or,
top.
or like yeah, like a week or two or something like a really short time frame. We doubled or triple. Then I would probably take a little bit more than I would normally scale out off the table, and I would consider that like, all right, maybe this is the top, maybe not. But I'm up so much anyway that it doesn't even really matter. Like
Well,
essentially,
right.
if I sell a bunch now, or if I sell a bunch at 100K, like okay, right? It's
That's
not
the
gonna be.
thing. That's where I was, right? So I was like, let me just take some here, because at a certain point, you look at all of your assets, and you have to know what your risk tolerance is. Like, are you a 1-to-1, entire portfolio of stocks to one Bitcoin? You know what I mean? Like, you have to weigh everything.
Well, I would rather sell. I mean, I have other crypto assets, right? So
Oh, of course, you always sell the
I
worst
scale
ones.
out of those. I
Yeah.
scale out of those when they go crazy or whatever. The only one that is my highest conviction is probably AMP, besides Bitcoin, because I just feel like it's so early. Nobody knows about it. It's not listed on Coinbase yet. Like when it gets listed on Coinbase, it's probably going to blow up either before the announcement, right after the announcement, or after the listing. There's a scenario where like it doesn't go up after it's listed, right? Don't get me wrong. Like it
Of
could
course.
take a crash for a little bit and then consolidate and recover, but I just don't see like I don't see it not getting listed. One. And then on top of that, I don't see a scenario where like it doesn't pump at some point around the listing. I think that's statistically like nil. I mean,
Yeah.
the world has to be on fire for it to get listed on Coinbase and not pump, you
The
know?
way the way I'm looking at AMP is two things. Number one, if AMP was just a pump and dump, it would be a penny right now. Like, it's
Would
holding
have
a pretty
dumped.
good floor.
It would have dumped. Dude,
Yeah.
I just saw, so yesterday was an interview with the CEO of Flexa and the CEO of Compound.
Mhm.
Compound's the biggest DeFi application
Yeah,
in
Compound's
the world,
great. Yeah.
you know? He invested 40% of his fund, Robot Ventures, into AMP.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, a digital collateral token, right? And then you have Compound Chain coming out, and the ultimate vision for the entire space, I guess, in general. Something he was talking about was like, you want to be able to have all these different blockchains, but you want them to communicate, talk to each other. You want to be able to pull information from one blockchain into another blockchain. And I think that's what he's going for with Compound. And how are you able to do something like that? Like, how can you have instant transactions? Well, you need collateral, right? And what is the only collateral token? AMP, right? But
You
right
know,
now, the way collateral works is you have to connect to a staking contract, right? You have to potentially take your funds, put them in this contract, and hopefully, everything works out. And usually it does. But what AMP does differently is they have these collateral partitions onto the token that they made. So you'd be able to provide collateral whilst leaving your AMP in something like Coinbase custody or Gemini custody. So if you're an institution, that matters like pretty significantly, because you're going to get an incentive to provide the collateral, right? But you might have a fiduciary responsibility, and you're not able to just send funds to a smart contract.
right.
So having that was very like a lot of really good foresight to doing that token upgrade and upgrading that architecture. And people don't know, man. People have no idea. They're pitching it to the institutions. They're not pitching it to retail investors. So if you don't do the work and pay attention, you're not going to know.
So this is something that I actually wasn't aware of. Now, when you kind of essentially stake it out of custody, that's not the same as me going on MetaMask and going on the Flexa app, right?
No, it's going to be different. I don't know. They have. I mean, obviously, I'm not an institution. I'm not going to be taking
No, of
advantage of
course.
not on Coinbase custody, but collateral management. I don't know. I'd have to look up the word exactly, the wording, but yeah, essentially, you're leaving it in Coinbase custody or Gemini custody, and you're able to stake it without directly connecting like MetaMask or something like that.
So you're basically bypassing gas fees, do you think, when you do that?
No, I wouldn't think that. But also, you got to realize that AMP, when they did the upgrades and everything like that, that was done in conjunction with Consensus, who's working on ETH too.
Okay.
You don't think that like there's a greater plan, and that AMP is going to have a role in the future of Ethereum and the future of crypto in general? I mean, I really do think that, and the fact that people don't realize that is a tremendous opportunity.
So I'll be honest with you. I took some AMP off on the PayPal news because I was a little, concerned about, will it have a moat and have an ability to capture
It
market
goes
share?
so much more beyond just retail spending, like merchant
Right.
adoption and things of that nature are definitely part of the plan. But eventually, I think that like so basically when you're staking, right, you're taking a risk and you're getting the fee that would normally go to the credit card company, right? Which is a much less fee, but that's getting going back to the stakeholders. And what they're doing is they're market buying AMP to pay it back to the people who are staking, right? So that's just like in terms of retail, right? Now, what if we like expand that, right? Now you're providing collateral for cross chain transfers, right? Now you're providing collateral for so many different applications that we probably don't even consider right now because DeFi is so nascent.
Right.
But having that ability to do that and having the ability for big money to do that, right? You don't just upgrade your token with like no idea of like, hey, this just sounds like a really good idea, F it. And then a CEO of the biggest DeFi application who's upgrading, his protocol to do cross-chain swaps, right? And probably a ton of other things, compound chain, right? He doesn't just plug in 40%. You know,
Now, here's my question, because cross-chain swaps is not a new idea. That's something I've heard for the past 3-4 years, right? What makes this an actual thing and not just some pipe dream that we heard about 2 years ago with Compound?
I mean, have you used compound at all?
I've
Have you
never
like been
done.
following it?
I'm familiar with it. I've never used DeFi. Like I've never lent money out or borrowed money, but I've like played around with like the option up until that moment. So I've never farmed, but I've like did the pre-farming, I guess you could say.
Well, I think that when you're looking at what Compound is, I mean, Compound, it's
Yeah.
completely open source, right? And that, so it's essentially, when people talk about Ethereum, DeFi, they talk about financial Legos, right? People are taking the governance of Compound, that code, and they're plugging it into their app, and they're taking different parts of the code of Compound and they're plugging it into their app. Whilst Compound is the biggest DeFi application in the world right now. I think that if someone's going to get it and they're going to get it right, it's probably going to be them. Now,
Okay.
it's not saying like, I didn't look at it from a technology standpoint, and I could totally be wrong, right? But if I had to, pick a pony, it's going to be, you know, Robert Leshner.
So are you buying Compound because of this, or are you just sticking tampons?
So I had a really good run with Filecoin.
Yeah, dude, you
And,
killed it, right? Like $30. Like that was an
yeah,
amazing entry, dude.
yeah, no, it was cool. I mean, like, but they're doing something, right? They're new. They're not a new project. They've been around for a little bit, but they're doing something different, right? And I think that the world, I mean, we're in this transition from analog to digital, right?
Yes.
There's no matter what there's nothing we can do to stop it at this point. It's just gonna happen, right? And yesterday's another good point that was brought up in the conversation was look, GDP of the U.S. GDP, right? If you take payments, that's 2% of U.S. GDP. That's so. For example, the U.S. military as a percentage of GDP is 3.5%.
That's a big jump.
That's a huge. So 2% of the GDP. That's crazy. That's insane. So there's so much room to make that more efficient, and that's why you're seeing all these players sort of jump into that mix and try to get their hands wet because it's ripe for disruption. The more you look at that sector, payments and even I guess like finance in general, and you compare it to DeFi. I mean, DeFi is better in every single way. You
Yeah.
literally there's a settlement layer built in. I'm sending you something. It's a bare asset. You have it. There's no like me taking it back. It's finality of settlement. It's completely final. Once it's yours, it's yours. That has significant implications.
You know what? It's some interesting stuff, dude. You don't think about that. Like I honestly didn't realize that payments are is just 2%. Like that's
Dude,
a
think
huge
about it like
number.
this too. Like, why do you get paid? Every 2 weeks, or why do people get paid once a week? We have the technology now to stream payments every day, to stream payments by the hour.
Yeah.
That's all possible, and that's going
Well,
to open up a whole new world of economic possibilities and things we'd never considered before.
it's crazy.
And that's why I'm very bullish on AMP. And that's why I took off a little Filecoin, I bought a little Compound, 360. That was very, very great. I saw the Filecoin out at the top, but it's a top for me. It's top enough.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like
And
you're
I
never
still have
gonna
some.
nail it. You're not gonna get the top tick, but you got a
Yeah,
great run.
it's
30.
scale in, scale out.
Exactly.
That's the name of the game. And so I saw it was doing well. I'm up like 5x. All right, let me start scaling out a little bit, and I'll take some of those profits. And I want a compound position. I like compound. I think it's going to play a great role, a big role in the future. And so I felt like I did not having it wasn't good. So I bought it right then, and then I didn't know the whole market would explode up. Like a few days later, and everything would be green, which was great.
What's Compound at now? 'Cause I honestly don't follow the altcoins.
480, 480 maybe something
Oh
like that.
wow, that's a nice move.
Yeah, no, I went 360 to like maybe lower 500s, and then now it's in like the 480s, 470s. Yeah, man, listen, I don't know why you're not in altcoins or why you're not deeper in Bitcoin and you're not deeper in this world, because this world is happening, man. There's
Yeah,
I know 2017 scarred us. Like 2017 messed me up too, man. Completely messed me up. Not in a good way. It's not good after that, but to I just feel like we're not. You're missing out on a lot of great opportunities.
well, yeah. I mean, to be clear, it's not like I'm a no coiner by any means, but yeah, I'm not heavily.
Imagine
I'm
you would have kept like 10% of your ETH.
well, yeah. I mean, the CAGR probably would have been higher, right? Because I had entries from like $80 to 300 essentially. My worst buy was like $400, right?
Hmm.
And that was only a couple of coins. So yeah, I would be doing okay, right? I would be definitely doing
Yeah,
okay.
it's just still so early. It's such a nascent industry. You still have time to jump in. Like obviously you don't want to jump in like with everything you have all in one shot because you're feeling FOMO.
No,
But
of
hey,
course not.
take a little off of some lower conviction play that you're doing and put a little bit in AMP. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So I think what AMP is, I like the idea. I have a, I'm not, listen, I'm a stock guy. You're a crypto guy, right? We know our strengths, right? And I'm like, I always say like 99% Bitcoin, 1% AMP, if I'm going to give you my breakdown of allocations. But AMP's an interesting one. My only thing is at the moment, I'm not really interested
You're,
in
you're a
anything.
5 year you're a 5 year plan guy. You're a
Of
5 year
course.
play guy.
Of
So
course.
I think in 5 years, dude, AMP could be like multiple dollars. Doesn't have to just stay in the cent range. I mean, if the use case pans out, you're talking a significant amount of money. And
Yeah,
then in that, I mean, also there'll be plenty of opportunities to enter,
of course.
right? There'll be plenty of opportunities to get out. Um, but I think in the long run, I think it's going to do very well.
And I think the problem I'm facing is that am I too late to the party now where I'm gonna
It's not a Coinbase yet.
top ticket? You know what I mean? Like I think that's where my main concern is because I'm totally about alt season, but I'm of the belief that you buy alt season during the bear market and you just sit back and you wait during the bull market. I'm not crazy about getting
You forgot that we
ahead of
came in
things.
the hottest of the hot in 2017, and we still made money. We just were
Yeah,
stupid and lost it all, right?
we lost it all because we're idiots. But right, no, you're right. You're right.
But it's not that hard. This is what we literally waited for 3-4 years, and we got our chips on the table now. Our position, or we have our cards rather. Just got to play them the right way.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and I think we've done a good job so far with Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, and believe me, although I've sold more than I wanted to, I'm not angry, and I'm very satisfied. I mean, the numbers were so big, like you have to when you're buying something about like 5 grand, and I'm not buying a lot, but still, it goes to 40 and 50. Like that's a huge percentage run that we had, and of the mindset of that's a lifetime of games typically when
And
I'm
here's the
into
thing, too:
stocks,
the
but
people who
yeah,
are buying right now, the Michael Saylors, the Fidelities, they don't care if Bitcoin is 50,000 or 60,000 or 70,000. They care that it's Bitcoin and they're going to buy it. And that's how you really got to look at it. They don't care that it's $10,000 more. That literally means nothing to them. They're sitting on billions of dollars.
well, and I think that tells you a lot of like how high is the ceiling at the end of the day, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, look, when this bull run first started, we were of the same mind. We said, like, look, maybe we'll get 50,000 if we're lucky. That'll be the peak. That'll
Right.
be it. It'll be over after that. You
Reset back
know,
to 20, right?
yeah, and we didn't think like, you know, we thought maybe it was possible for Tesla to start accepting Bitcoin. All right, we knew it was possible for like an ETF to be around the corner. You know, we knew it was possible for a friendlier regulation, right, or potentially friendlier regulations. But we didn't think it would happen like this.
No, no.
I think now that it's happened like this, you got to kind of adjust a little bit and say, look, you know, given all this bullish news and bullish hype, like there's a really good chance that we just keep running.
So here's the thing, right? I think everything you're saying I agree with, but would you say that the easy trade at this point is to buy Bitcoin? And is it too easy? You know, because
Is
that
it?
rug pull can
No,
always
I
happen.
don't think it's. I don't think it's too easy to. But it's never easy to buy Bitcoin, man. Think of all the people who probably bought at like 58, 59 just now, and now they're sitting there sweating. You know,
Or they
it's
haven't bought
never.
yet either, right? There's always the people that just will never buy because they keep missing it.
Oh yeah, well that
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But it's never going to be easy to buy Bitcoin. It never
No,
is. You know, you're always, and that's a good thing. You know, you're always going to feel that little like, all right, here I go. You know, like you always get that little feeling. I don't always get that with stocks. Like I don't get that with gold when I buy a lot of gold, or Apple stock when I buy a lot of Apple. You know, but I do get that with Bitcoin sometimes,
yeah.
especially last March during that crash.
Dude, I'm very happy that I was a buyer in March, but I was not a size buyer by any means. I
Oh,
had
I bought everything I had, man. I was like, you know what? This is like the last whatever. I was
right,
like, I just spent 3 years buying this stupid coin. Like,
right.
let's go.
You know,
Buy.
here's the thing,
That
right?
became the
Like,
best buy.
of course,
Yeah.
the lifetime of money that happened. Uh, and I'm always a Bitcoin believer, and I'm not necessarily like I don't want people to think I'm a Bitcoin bear or anything like that. You know, I'm not nowhere near that. I'm of the ilk that I need to now kind of be patient and let things play out and just dollar cost average. And maybe I'm
It's not a
early,
bad move.
right? And maybe I'm early to the selling and I'm early to the waiting part. That's very real. It could go to 100. But when Bitcoin starts that downward descent, I'm gonna be is so excited because I know what that's like,
Yeah.
right? Bear markets are like the greatest gift ever if you have perspective, you know?
There's always an echo bubble too if you look at the chart. So we
Really?
hit 20, yeah, and then we dropped, and then we went back up to like what, like 16, 17 or something like that, and then it dropped again.
Yeah.
So if you want to get out at the echo bubble.
Oh yeah, yeah. You always get that lower high to sell into. You just have
Uh,
to understand that it's not making that new high. But yeah, like I'm not worried. You know, I I want to buy something I believe in on the way down, and I want to do it in a way where I don't run out of money. Dollar cost averaging does that for us.
mm.
And you know what? If Bitcoin goes to 5 grand tomorrow, dude, come on. You really think Bitcoin's gonna disappear? Bitcoin goes to 5 grand tomorrow. I'm junking my car for whatever I can get for it. You know, like I'm gonna find a way to make up for March where I
What if it
did
goes to 20K tomorrow?
It goes to 20K.
Jumping your
Obviously,
car?
I'm gonna be buying as much that my wife lets me, but it won't be a full Bitcoin. That's the reality of it, right? Like,
Well, look at the overall market, man. Like, do
yeah.
you think that this market changes the world?
You know, I think it's going to do a lot to change the world. Yes, I think there's some issues. Like, you love ETH. I'm very pissed off at ETH right now for these fees, man. It's killing me.
But dude, you need to pay if you want to board the bus of block space.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right?
This
Like,
is still early. You can't. You got to pay for this development. You got to
I
pay
don't
for
know,
all this
man.
stuff. And like, if you make money off it, then it balances out anyway.
I know, but here's the thing, right? Like, we were talking earlier about an options trading DAO, right?
Mm.
And I wanted to look at this one coin, Proof Trader, PTF, and like whatever. Like, I was just looking at it to like figure out like what it costs and things like that. So I went on Uniswap and I have like literally like $10 in my MetaMask wallet of ETH because it's just like leftovers from like transactions. And I was like, well, let me see if I can buy $10 worth of this stupid coin. We've been like 2 or 3 coins.
Mm.
ETH was like the gas fees were $70 for on a $10 purchase. Like
I
that's where I
gave
had
away
issues,
two
dude.
NFTs today to 2 kids. I
How
spent
did
like
that cost you?
$30
Right, like
per, almost $30 per.
right. So, dude, like you know what? You know, I know what you're saying. You gotta pay up for a great asset. I'm a believer in that. You pay for quality, but at what point is it just not fair or real? Like this is congestion. This is like being stuck in traffic on the LAE at
Listen,
5 o'clock on a
you could pay
Friday.
to speed it up if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend $200, right?
If you need to. If you need it, if you were trading size
No, of course.
and you need to execute the trade, then you pay. You know, that's
Right,
just what it is.
right.
But all of these problems are are going to get fixed.
They have to.
They will. They will. It's between layer 2 and then ETH 2 coming out. I don't think ETH 2 will be ready until the next halving. And I think that's almost intentional.
Makes sense.
Yeah, once it'll I think by next halving it'll be good to go, tested, bugs, kinks worked out, and we'll be ready to roll 2024. But until then, layer 2 is going to be big.
My only worry is, though, at that point, if scaling doesn't happen, do developers ever start looking elsewhere? I know network effects are a great moat for ETH, but could it eventually lose out? And that's my only worry.
I see it losing out, never completely, but if you look at, all right, so Tron, right?
Fucking Tron.
First off, Tron, congratulations to anybody holding Tron, because if they I'm pretty sure if they dollar costed average into Tron over the last 3-4 years, they'd be up money right now.
Dude, VeChain too, man.
Yeah, good for you guys. I would never buy those coins.
No.
But good. I want them to do well by the people that were bag holding, right?
Right.
At least they gave those people an opportunity to come out and profit at the end of the day if they really did hold. Because anybody you speak to, probably, or most people you speak to, when they're buying something, you'd be like, how long do you want to hold this? This is a great investment. I want to hold it for years. I feel like that's a more standard answer than I'm trying to flip it,
Right. VeChain is now at 10 cents. I think they did 1,000 for one split.
Mm-hmm.
It's $10. So if I would have held on, I'd be up like 8K right now. If I just didn't touch anything, if I just held it and waited, I'd be up 8K. If I'd been dollar cost averaging, I'd be up a lot more. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the thing too. If you find the legit, I don't know how legit they are, to be honest. I never
probably not legit. Nothing's legit.
Exactly, right? That's the problem. 95% are scams run by scam artists, and sometimes you can't tell if it's a scam artist or not or whatever. But that's why I like AMP, because AMP is not a scam. It doesn't seem to be a scam. I've done a lot of deep digging over a really long time, and really, I don't even want to admit to the amount of digging I did. It's
but that's what you do, though, right? When you find something, you keep going. Right now, I got this link open here on my computer. That's an article about Africa, because I invest in Jumia, so I want to learn more about Africa's economy and
Let's take a trip.
That's what you do. Take a trip, right?
If that's
works. Actually a good idea, right? That'd be really fun, because I'm doing that Twitter Spaces. I think it's April 18th for e-commerce, and it's me, Mark Cook, Plant Math, Anthony Ohio from Pounding Table. It's a lot of people, so we should definitely use Spaces actually, periodically.
Yeah, even if we have to use another account or something like that. Satoshi Alien will give it boobs.
The Satoshi Alien will help you understand technology and cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, and believe you like it. The Satoshi Alien will help you understand investments and make money, so come listen to the aliens guidance. Listen to